I read the book Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban from 1999 and watched the movie from 2004, so you don't have to. And here are some of the differences between the book and the movie. Now, I'd like to say this movie is about 2.5 hours, so it's a very beefy movie, which means they had to leave out a bunch of stuff because the movie would just be way too long. First one is Arthur Weasley tells Harry about Sirius Black. That happens in the movie, but in the book, Harry actually overhears Mr. Weasley and Mrs. Weasley arguing whether to tell Harry or not. Another one is when Lupus is teaching class, and in the movie, he lets Harry see the Boggart, but in the book, he doesn't allow Harry to see the Boggart at all because he fears that Voldemort might appear. Now, this one's one of the more major ones when Ron and Hermione were having a huge fight over Crookshanks and his rat. In the book, this was very intensified. This was actually one of the major plot points moving throughout this whole entire book. There's a good quarter, a chunk of the book where they were not getting along at all and they weren't even speaking to each other. But in the movie, it seems like they didn't really have that much of a problem. The scenes was very short, it was very small, and throughout the whole book, they had some conflict, but it was never intensified the way it was in the book. That's also connected with Hermione was very against Harry sneaking out of Hogwarts to go to Hogsmeade, but in the movie it's not really touched upon. Also with that is the Crookshanks storyline. Crookshanks had a major part in the books, but in the movie it was very cut short. Crookshanks even goes on to befriend Sirius Black and goes on to be part of the major climax point where they're in the Whopping Willow. Buckbeak's trial was also very intensified, was one of the major subplots, part of the book. Hermione was helping Hagrid a lot more, while Harry and Ron were more focused on Quidditch. But in the movie, of course, Quidditch is barely even mentioned. They even won the school championship in the book, but in the movie also was not mentioned. Again, of course, the filmmakers did a great job with making this movie and adapting this book. But I wish they did touch upon this more, was the friendship between Sirius, Lupus, and Harry's dad. Also, Pettigrew, it didn't really explain their friendship, which made this final scene in the Whopping Willow a little bit confusing. They were actually best friends in the book, but I don't think it really explains that in the movie, and explains why Lupus is a werewolf and why Sirius can turn into a dog. Because Harry's dad can also turn into animals, and then Pettigrew can also turn into another animal, which was also not explained too much in the movie. These were just some of the changes. Of course, there was a lot more changes that happened. It would just be way too much if I listed them all. But I just find these changes interesting as someone reading the books for the first time and as someone who has seen the movies.